Today we're going to be working on a 2008 Toyota Prius. We'll be installing a LEX5 VL2 in this vehicle. We'll be taking out the display and the radio. So the first step will be taking out this air vent right here. We'll be using a pry tool to do that. And we're just going to pry behind this back corner just a little bit to pop it loose. And we'll do the same on the bottom. And we'll just work our way around. There we go. So the next step over here will be removing this panel right here. We're not going to take it fully off, but we're just going to remove the top clips right here so that we can take this out. And then we'll come over here to the passenger side. So the next step over here will be popping this side off, just like we did the driver's side of this trim. There we go. Now we've got that loose. We can take off this whole top piece here. And take out this top piece, we're just going to use the pry tool again, similar to how we did the air vents. There's going to be the start stop button back here. I'll just unplug this. And there's the plug for that. The clip's going to be right on top here. Alright, so the next step will be taking off this side over here, but first we have to take off the shifter knob. Just spin this counterclockwise until it comes off. It can take a while if it's fully on. And from here we're going to take off this piece of trim using our pry tool. And then if it gets stuck on this bottom part down here, you just need to pull it out just a little bit more. And we're going to unplug this button here. There's the plug for it with the clip on top. And then now we'll move over to this last air vent. Alright, so we're going to remove this one just like we did the last two. And now we're ready to start removing the radio and the display. Next we'll be removing this door right here along with this bottom piece of trim. To do that, we're going to take off the two screws that hold it in. And the other one's going to be right over here. Alright, so now we can just pull on this and it'll come right off. Just got the 4 clips that hold that in place. And next we'll move on to removing these. So to remove these, we'll start with the display. We'll need to remove the two 10mm bolts that hold it in on either side. Once those are removed, you can just unplug the display or pull it out. And now we can unplug behind here. There we go. We'll put this to the side for now. So to remove the radio, we've got two 10mm bolts down here and 2 up top. And now we can pull on the radio to get it out. And start disconnecting everything back here. And we put this to the side for now. So in this vehicle, we do have this pamphlet here along with a kit to retain the factory microphone. We have for the 2 different vehicles here that are compatible with the LEX5, or 2 different sets of vehicles. This one is a Prius that we're working on, so we've got a 40 pin connector here, and we'll be connecting to these wires here. So if we look at all of the display connectors up here, we've got the 40-pin connector right here. And we're looking for the green and red wire, which are going to be right here on the top. Yeah, it'll be these ones right here. So we'll connect the P-taps to these and show you how to do that. So we've got our harness here with our 3.5mm jack here for the microphone. And then on the other end, we've got our 2 wires that'll be P-tap to the factory microphone wires. We're going to take our P-taps here and show you how to do this. We're going to undo the top part here, and then you're going to insert that over the wire, which we've already stripped down just a tiny bit here. And then you'll take the base and you're going to insert that in here. And then you're going to tighten it down. And it might be a little hard to tighten, which is fine. It just means it's holding the wire in place well. And if you tug on it like that and it doesn't come out, then you've done everything correctly. We'll move on to this side here. There we go. And these are properly connected now. As you can see, there's no bare wires showing out of the tops of them. All the bare wire is down in the P-tap itself. Alright, so on our 40-pin connector here, we've got our wires up here, pin number 2 and pin number 3. Pin number 2 is our green wire right here, which is going to be our positive microphone wire. So we're going to take the red wire from this kit here, and we're going to unscrew the bottom of the P-tap. And then we're going to wrap that around the green wire here. And then we're going to screw this back on now. This is going to pierce the wire, but not destroy the wire or harm the wire in any way, and allow us to make a connection to it. And now we'll do the same over here with the black connector. And we're going to do that to the red wire, which is right next to it in pin slot number 3. There we go. So now I've got those connected here, and we're connected to the factory microphone now. So we'll continue with our installation. Before you put everything back together, I would recommend checking this. There's a rare chance that one of these didn't pierce the wires correctly. And then if that's the case, you just want to unscrew it and reseat it back in. So first we're going to start with our GBMF connector here behind the display. And we're going to connect this side here to the factory connector. And this side will be going into the display itself. That'll leave us with this end right here, which we're going to route to the glove box to plug into the V-line. And we're going to go behind here. We're going to go all the way over to this side over here. We'll do the same with all of our other harnesses, so it's just easier for us to run them to the glove box. And that should be good there for now. We'll just push this up to the side, and then we'll show you our radio connections next. Next, we have our MCF toy here. This end will be going to the V-line, and then these ends will be behind the radio. In this vehicle, there's not a factory 12-pin connector, otherwise that would get plugged in here. So in this case, this won't be plugged into anything, and this part will be plugged into the radio itself. So we're just going to route this end right up here. And now we've got that ran. And lastly, we'll be putting in the GPS antenna. We're going to be putting that back here on top of this vent. And we'll just be peeling off the back here. And that'll stick right up here in this corner. And we're actually going to mount it sideways so it sticks onto the vent a little better. I just like to push down on those and hold it down for 5 to 10 seconds just to kind of make sure it's in place well. And then from there, we'll route it like we did the display cable. And the GPS antenna does have a long cable in case you do want to install it anywhere else. So we're going to be tucking all that slack back behind here as well. Now that we've got them all routed over here to go towards the glove box, we'll run them into the glove box and then manage all the slack. So we're going to be pulling the glove box down to run our wires through easier. To do that, there's going to be this right down here. It's almost like a piston that holds it in place. And then from there, you just have to push in on either side. And it'll pull right down. And if you pull it towards you, these little clips down here will come off. And then we can pull out the glove box. So to get your wires through, it's super simple. You can see directly where you're putting your wires through. So we're just going to run them all through right here now. And I'm going to run them over this bigger wire loom harness right here, and then we're going to zip tie them to that loom once we're done, just to hold everything in place. And now that we've got everything through to here, we're going to plug in the V-line and then get all of our cables managed correctly and then tie up all that slack. So we've decided that we're going to mount our V-line in this orientation, like this, and our wires will be coming out the corner. So we've ran them all around the V-line like this, and then we're going to tape them up just a little bit to about like right here. And then now we know that any wire past this point is going to be extra and we don't need it. So we took the glove box out, mounted the V-line, and now we're ready to put the glove box back in and kind of plug everything in. So from here, we're going to put the glove box back in at an angle to get the clips in. And from here, we're going to be plugging in the rest of our connectors into our V-line just to make sure everything's ran correctly. Alright, now that we've got that plugged in, we're just going to make sure everything pushes back into place. When you do put everything back in, make sure you don't forget about this piston right here. And then we're going to play with our wiring just to make sure the glove box is all going to close up. Perfect. Everything looks good there, so we'll get back to putting the radio in. Alright, so now that everything's all wire managed, we're ready to put the radio back in. So we're going to start connecting everything down here. Put this display connector to the side. And we've got our harness here. This side would connect to the factory 12-pin connector if you have one. We don't have one in this vehicle, so we're going to leave it disconnected. Just going to double check and make sure I'm not missing any other cables. It doesn't look like it. So I'm going to set this back into place now. And we're going to try to line up the clips on the side here. And they'll go in right here and over here on the same side. And once it's clipped in place, all the bolt holes should line up. We're ready to put in the bolts now that hold the radio in. We're going to put 2 on the bottom and the 2 up top. And now we'll move on to the display. So our connectors back here are going to be the GVMF, and then we have our microphone connected to this 40-pin here. And first, we want to connect these bottom ones down here. Next, we'll move on to these factory connectors, the 40 pin, and the smaller one. And lastly, our GVMF, which we'll plug in on this side over here. And once those are connected, we can slide this into place. There we go. And now we'll be putting in the bolts. There's one over here and one on the driver's side. Alright, so now that we've got everything in, now is a good time to test and make sure everything's working, like the factory microphone. And the first thing we're going to do is take out this button here so we can plug it in. There's just a little clip on either side here. So just squeeze those in and the button will come out. And then we'll be plugging that in right here. And this is just to prevent any lights from coming on. And we've got the power button here as well. It's got a clip on either side. Just push in on those and that'll pop out. And we'll be plugging that in up top right here. And now we can turn on the car and test everything. So we've tested everything and everything's working. So we're gonna put these back where they go. And make sure you orient them all right side up. There we go. And now we're going to continue reinstalling all the trim. So now we're going to put this piece of trim back in place here. And we're going to line up the clips up top here. And once that's pushed in place, we're going to put the 2 Phillips head screws in down here. Now we're ready to start putting the vents back in. We're going to start with the passenger side here. There we go. And now we'll move over to the driver's side one. Alright, now we'll put in this side with the park button. And you might have to pull back on this trim down here just a little bit to get it in place. Alright, so next we'll be putting in this piece here. We need to make sure we plug in the power button. And then as this sits into place, you might have to pull back on this lower trim just a little bit still to make sure it seats properly. And now that that's in place, we'll move over to the driver's side. So now we need to put this back in place here. We're just going to pull back on that, and you want to make sure all these clips go into their place over here. There we go. And then we'll move on to this vent here. It should just slide in place like the other ones. Go. And now we've got everything reassembled. So I need to put these in over here. And make sure your bottom clips go in as well. And then this will screw back on here. And now we'll move over to the driver's side vent.